Hello everyone and welcome back to another VOD review. We got Dallas Fuel taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. So this was probably the best match of the weekend. Unless you're a Gladiators fan. There was definitely some Sadiators in this series. It's a cool match to watch and talk about because I think it showed, I think this was the best level of play that we've seen in Overwatch 2. You can see some great coordination. We're seeing a clash of styles as well. Dallas Fuel leans pretty heavily on the Hanbin Zarya style of playing. They put Edison on the Reaper, Hanbin on that Zarya, and that allows them to sort of play this almost like death bully walk at you situation. Did not work in the first two maps. LA Gladiators seemed to know what was coming and playing very well, but in true fashion, the Gladiators dropped the spaghetti, and we'll talk about each moment that they dropped the spaghetti throughout the series because it was a very close series, back and forth. I think every map, I don't think there was a one-sided map in the entire series, but I could be wrong about that. But it's an absolute banger of a match. The narrative for a lot of these teams is Dallas Fuel obviously trying to redeem themselves after the Houston Outlaws tragedy that happened at the homestand where Dallas Fuel got bodied. They've been slowly repairing their reputation as they're playing in the same level that we expected from them. The Los Angeles Gladiators on the other side, I think they were a little bit, they're showing that they have the potential and they have the talent to be one of the best teams in the world, yet it always feels like they fall to the ground and just slip on themselves eventually, and that happens multiple times. So let's just get started. We'll walk through it. We'll talk about it as we go. I love being a Sadian. Yeah. This is the default lineup that Dallas Fuel have been running. They run Edison, Sparkle. I don't think we've seen any Doha so far. We saw a little bit of Fearless, who came in to play some Doom and Winston, but I don't think do they switch Hanbin out in this series? I'm not sure, but Hanbin is so good. I think people underrate and are starting to realize how good Hanbin is, especially on Gibraltar, of course, yeah. But I think Hanbin's absolutely giving people more reasons to understand why he's good. He's one of the few Zaryas that I've watched play this Zarya composition and make it look good. There's some teams that have made Zarya look really bad over the weekend. We had Paris Eternal. I think Vestola really struggled to get much value from it. Who's the other team that played a lot of Zarya and it didn't look very good? Piggy played some Zarya for the Houston Outlaws and he seemed to struggle on it as well. So there are teams that have made Zarya work, but the Zarya hasn't looked super good. But I think Hanbin has been really good. AMYXL put Kellen onto the Zarya, and that's when they took the map off of San Francisco Shock on Kings Row. But, even then, I think Hanbin is heads and shoulders above everyone else. Important to note as well, there was a, I believe Yiska did an interview with Hanbin, and Hanbin said that they took the Zarya comp from the APAC region. So for this upcoming weekend, I would not be surprised for the APAC region if we see a lot more Zarya and this Zarya style of composition, and probably some Winston here and there. So this might be a precursor for what to expect in the APAC region. Hopefully with Zarya, we can see some more space. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Gladiators sort of mess around with that, if they're going to play their own Zarya style. But has Doha played a map? No, I don't believe so. And it makes sense. When would you play Doha Sparkle? It doesn't really make sense in this meta. I like Arns on the Soldier and Kevster on the Genji more than Patty on the Genji. Yeah, it was interesting that we didn't see any Patty fan. I think he's a great player and I think he fits in this team, but he needs to get some confidence. I'm glad they didn't play him against Dallas Fuel. I think that wouldn't have been a good match for him. I kind of hope that we get to see Patty fan play in some matches against weaker teams and he can get some confidence, because he just doesn't seem to play with confidence right now, and you can sort of tell it in the player cams that he seems very stressed about the matches. So if he can get some confidence, get some footing, I think he'll be in a good spot. But yeah, feels like Dallas would have exposed him. Yeah, he was already having some good moments but struggling from time to time against some worse teams. You put him against the Dallas Fuel don't give you that space. Does this mean we're going to get Washington put Decay on Zar? I don't want to say that no teams are going to put DPS players on the Zarya, because We have seen, say, like, people put, you know, Dante on the Doomfist and stuff like that. But I would be surprised because, and, you know, I think Houston is another prime example of why you don't like to put DPS players on the tank, because it gives you no flexibility and it makes you very counterable. I think teams need to invest time and resources into making their tank players good at Zarya and the tank players good at Doomfist, etc., rather than trying to just, like, get cheap wins. It kind of feels like, you know what I mean? How the hell did Houston 3-0 Dallas? I think it was just a massive... I think Houston played incredibly well and overperformed. I think Dallas massively underperformed. Edison gets punished early on. You sort of see the strategy that the Dallas feel how they kind of play it. So the way that Dallas feel play this composition is they send Edison in. He gets bubbled outside of his shadow step, or yeah, outside of his shadow step, I think it's called. And then he plays aggressive and they take space on that. This is a very reactive style of playing on the Zarya, which is interesting because the Gladiators are also playing kind of a reactive style on the Doomfist. Dude, nano on the Hanbin. Good sleep by Shu. Hanbin and Fielder played so good this series. Yeah, I think they've been the two standout players this week. Well, just on the Dallas Fuel team in general. I think Sparkle's been pretty quiet overall. Sparkle has not had a great season thus far. Even on the Genji, like, it feels like he hasn't really had the same level of impact you would expect from a Genji meta. Funny Astro gets 3. It's awesome to see Funny Astro in the league. I do love me some Funny Astro Lucio. Sparkle needs to warm up his Tracer. I got tweeted at by Rush. What was the tweet? Let me find out real quick.
Similar role scenarios here as the Fuel again will look to try and take a fight. At least here they can get Edison fairly close, but he's spotted out, stunned briefly, and that's a bubble.
Look at this tweet by Rush. GG's, it's really good, but D-ranked Tracer Sparkle ... Come on. Okay, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Even Sparkle commented himself. So bad, Tracer. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry, Sparkle. Getting subtweeted at. Kevster feels top 3 DPS in NA, if not top 2. Yeah, I could see that. Kevster feels really good. Kevster's like proper where I think he can play anything. If he wants to play the Tracer, he can play the Tracer. If he wants to play the Genji, he can play the Genji. If he wants to play the Echo, he can play the Echo. If he wants to play the Soldier, he can play the Soldier. I think Kevster's one of those players where I think he can play anything except for hard hit scam, like Widow and stuff like that, right? I think otherwise I'm happy for Kevster to play anything. And then Arns and Patty Fan just sort of rotate around there. Arns be that hard hit scan, Patty Fan be that flex DPS.
Really difficult to dispatch that Doomfist, especially when you lose a player early. Even though you trade, if the Doomfist is still alive on that other team, not when the first target dead, it's pretty tough.
Graviton surge for Hanbin there. He is doused in a bite of Grenadiers. Kevster looks to try and finish off Chio.
Good grab by Hanbin. Should win them this fight. Yeah. Clean. I don't know why Reiner ulted there. That felt like a very weird ult to use by Reiner. Like they're already 2 down, but yeah.
So they pick up the Echo here. Sparkle switching off Genji too.
Do you see Sam's tweet about Comp and Overwatch 2? Is that the one where he said about the Discord? We talked about that earlier today, but it seems like a really bad move. Like they've explained why, especially to, you know, the players and stuff like that, why there isn't comp, at least in this first beta iteration. I don't know what tweeting at Play Overwatch is going to do, what he's expecting it to do, but it's kind of annoying. It's whatever. Like, obviously, people want comp and we want comp, but they've given pretty good reasoning of why there is no comp at this current state. But Glad's ult usage, honestly, the ult usage was pretty good in the first 2 maps. I feel like they got a little desperate. You know, as the series goes on, the Gladiators get a little bit desperate in trying to win these fights. They can feel themselves so close to the win that they overcompensate by trying to use ults to win those small percentage plays when you just need to keep playing the percentage plays. Keep playing the smart one way, keep playing the team style. But they sort of throw it away from time to time.
Some of the wind out of the sails for Dallas. Okay, Arns gives up the high ground. Sparkle can hear an Ana. Yeah, firing away. Spot Shu there. Probing pulse bomb. No stick though. Still controlling the high ground and definitely giving Shu some cause for concern, but is a sound barrier now for the Dallas Fuel. They lost Edison to
Double beat. How does Edison die before the fight starts?
Still controlling the high ground and definitely giving Shu some cause for concern.
Bait was just almost very late. Wait, no, very close to hitting. Chio almost got him. If that beat had gone down, I think Dallas wins this fight 100%, because then Edison can pop the visor as well. So just a little bit of poor timing, but also a good dive by the LA Gladiators. Kevster and Reiner seem to be on really good wavelengths. Like, their dives seem very in sync.
I think what I was gonna say is,
I also think if you're gonna play these Winston compositions, I want to see more teams play Tracer. I feel like Tracer is just more consistent and more valuable. Obviously, Tracer's not as dominant as she used to be, but I feel like you just get more passive value than the Genji and the Echo. It feels like Genji Echo, you kind of need to go in to get that high value, while Tracer can sort of create her own space. I also think Tracer can hold the Soldier accountable, which Echo Genji can't always do. Blade is just inconsistent, yeah. And that's it, right? Like, people don't really want to nano Blade as well these days. So if you're not going to nano the Blade, it feels like almost impossible to get value out of. Like, nano Visor is just way better in my opinion. It's like guaranteed. Yo, no worries, Emperor. ADHD.
I also think you see the flexibility of Reiner here, where he's able to play the
What happens if a team like Shock has 6 players, has a player that feels ill and can't play? Just deal with it. Like, the player either has to play, or they have someone else fill the role. I would say, here's the thing. It's like, obviously it'd be nice to have that backup, but how often in the history of OWL have we had that happen? Like, players generally always can play and will play through being even mildly sick. We're in a fortunate place in which sickness, you can play through sickness. It may not be ideal, but honestly, players would rather play through the sickness than deal with it, right?
As the Gladiators are bundled back towards their spawn.
This could be huge, though. It's going to be Reiner now going back to Doomfist. Minute 23 on the clock.
Yeah, Dallas has switched off the Tracer.
Yeah, Hanbin's got this grab. He's been sitting on it for what feels like a while now.
All right. Dallas Fuel is getting back, and I think something that Gladiators did really well in this map is it feels like they know where to take the fights, and they keep just making sure the bot is pushing. So even when Dallas is winning fights, it feels like they're getting no positive progress.
Okay, so tag fires are there from Edison. This, ironically, creates a bit of space.
Oh.
He's taken down during the course of the ultimate.
Okay, I actually want to talk about this because I think this is relevant because this happens again. Edison goes way too aggressive here. Like, why is Edison popping the visor and then feeling the need to run in? Like, what? I don't understand why he popped the visor here and went aggressive. And then, like, he puts Hanbin in a bad spot. And that's like, they give away a free fight where they use an ultimate and the Gladiators only really need to use the thing. Then they commit the grab as well. Like, they're committing so many ults to a fight in which, like, they kind of threw away. And so, all right, so and then you're like, okay, whatever. They win the fight anyway. They had to drop a lot of ults. What was that? Nano beat grab. Visor beat grab. Which is impressive, but because they get the bot away. And this was my big tilting moment for the Dallas Fuel. Look at this play by Edison. So he fucks up, and then he does the exact same thing. Like, all they need to do is push it to this checkpoint. So the Gladiators are going to have to come to you. I'm all for holding space, but he needs to hold space in a place where he can't get punished, right? Like, I feel like Hanbin can't help him because they want to play on the point. And like Sparkle and Edison go aggressive. They get the pick, boom, great. But they just get too aggressive and they lose both of their DPS in a situation where neither of their supports can help him. Like, I don't even know where Fielder is. And look how close they got. They got 0.8 meters from getting this capture. Like, they just needed to force the Gladiators into a bad position. Gladiators were going to be the ones who were going to have to push into them, force the point. If they just played around that advantage, they would have been in a much better spot. They have the Death Blossom. Gladiators are going to have to come in, press all the buttons. I think they need to set up more rather than trying to push the envelope of trying to like get too aggressive. So Edison dying twice in a row on these fights, I think is just like a massive issue. And also like that's not an error that a lot of Dallas Fuel made in the past. So Edison definitely needs to be careful.
Started to pick things up towards the end, but I think the Gladiators, they had the answer for the Dallas Fuel compositions at every turn.
He needs to go up the ramp on the other side. Yeah, just anywhere in which he can't get punished. Like, he just can't get punished. Shit happens sometimes, but you can't have that happen back to back. Why don't we see Guria? I believe it seems like they believe in Edison more.
To start map 2 off in more of a comfortable spot. Going up in Texas in a few weeks' time, Matthew. The Gladiators feel like they start off on Coliseum with a really robust composition, right? You teased it. Hey, middle part of the map.
Double push, what a great idea. I like push. Like, people keep saying that they don't like push. I think push is a great map. Like, I think it's a great mode. I haven't played it at the highest level or in competitive modes, so I don't know exactly how I feel about playing it. But from a spectator's standpoint, like, it feels like the better team always wins. Like, Gladiators were better in that map. They played it right. It came down to the final fight. It was exciting. It went back and forth. I don't really know what people don't like about push. Great to play, boring to watch. I feel like it's more because the spectators and the teams don't know how to play it super well. Like, we don't understand the intricacies of what's happening right now.
There's no shot you ever got 9 final blows in a game. It's like, there's no chance. But yeah, no, funny Astro, yeah. I mean, he gets brought out.
I don't think it's double ready. Why not? Like it is the new thing. We want to see it get played. Like, I don't have a problem with it. So it feels like a beta mode. Well, I think it's just the new mode. Like, I got no problem with it. There's probably some things that they might tweak as time goes on, and they might make the mode better, but it looks super snowbally, similar to Control. It seems like the first fight has a ton of impact. Well, like, I think the way I try and determine it is, like, you have to look at it in terms of how many team fights you have to win. And Gladiators won more team fights than the Dallas Fuel in there. But it's also impact of, like, where you're taking your fights, controlling the space. And I think we don't highlight that very well as casters, as spectators, as viewers. We're not highlighting those intricacies very well. So I think people just don't understand it. And I think it isn't very snowball at all. Like, I think it's just, if people win a few fights, then you're going to be massively ahead, and it should be like that, right? It should really come down to who won more team fights is who wins the map, and that's how, you know, tug of war generally works. But I like that it's not very choke heavy. It's not very old. Like, every fight feels different. Feels like we're going back and forth. People say 2CP was better. No, people just understand 2CP better. And I think that's like generally why some people like 6v6 and they like 2CP is because they understand it better. They know what they're looking at. You know, it's a choke. They understand who's winning, where the advantages are, all that kind of stuff, because it was such a simplistic thing. Talking about snowballing though, like 2CP had the worst snowballing mechanics in the game. Of like, if you won the first fight, you generally double capped, and that was generally the end of the map, right? I just think it's new, and I think people don't like new things because they don't understand them. Especially with Coliseum, you see the same fight in the same place over and over, and I think that goes on to the teams more often than not, though. Yeah, like, I'm kind of curious to see how it evolves. Like, I like how it's been going now. I don't think it's perfect. I completely agree it's not perfect, but I like the changes that it brings. I think it's cool that it's a fast game map, game mode as well. Like, as much as the 8 minutes feel fast, I generally feel that's how Overwatch should be played. Like, Overwatch, I would much rather have consistent 10 minute push maps than play 25-minute Volsky Industries and stuff like that, right? And then you end up in draws and shit like that. I think it makes the series overall feel much more free-flowing. Oh, the camera keeps going in our focus. That's my fault. I'm leaning. Yeah, I would like to see push go towards 10-12 minutes. I think I agree with that as well. Like, I think maybe 10. I think if they push it up to 10 minutes and see how it goes from there. 8 minutes feels a little short sometimes, and I think that's what results in what people are saying was snowbally. It feels like, let's say you get the first check, you win the first 3 team fights, you generally get like a checkpoint and a bit, and that's such a big undertaking to come back from. If you're the defensive team, obviously if you lose 3 team fights in a row at the beginning, then you probably deserve to lose the fight. But yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because this map either allowed
2CP felt awesome. Yeah, like there were some good TCP maps where there's great plays, it's back and forth. My general reasoning for why I always talk about what I don't like 2CP and what I like about push, because it's the inverse, is that 2CP, it feels like the most it is the map type where the worst team is more likely to win. And I don't think the worst team should generally be able to win a lot more on a certain map because of how it plays, right? I like being able to see the team outplay rather than just get these unique one fight play that then results in a massive snowball, etc, etc. So maybe 2 checkpoints on each side. Yeah, I can see that. But they'd have to mess with the spawns and stuff like that. I think that faster-paced games may bring down esports compared to slower, easier to understand. No, I think Overwatch is a fast esport. It's supposed to be a fast esport. You don't want to slow Overwatch down because what happens when you slow Overwatch down, right? That's like you're essentially playing double shield, right? You don't want to slow the game down where everyone's just sniping and trying to pick at each other thing. Overwatch is a fast-paced game, and something they've done really well, in my opinion, with Overwatch 2 is that it feels back to like a fast-paced FPS. It's how Overwatch is played, how it should be played, in my opinion. And as much as it might be difficult to understand as an esport, that's just the way it is. That's the way a game is. And I don't think it should change away from that too much. So let's talk about this map. We're going into Gibraltar. We're seeing Dallas Fuel getting a pretty good first fight here with a nano onto, I believe that was on Sparkle, right? I like what Dallas Fuel, they don't try and duel aunts. Like, I think you need, a lot more teams need to learn from this. Boston Uprising, like putting Victoria in. You need to accept when you're not better at something than the other team. Like, you're not going to beat the Gladiators playing Widow on first point Gibraltar. Just play a faster dive. Make it so that aunts has to switch and can't get value from the Widow. And I think that's what Dallas Fuel like showcase here the best, right? They just play out a line of sights and then they crush. And like Arns just can't find angles. Like, yeah, he's getting shots here and there and he has the potential to pop off, but they're still playing to their strengths. Edison just crept the card up. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think it was a really smart push by Dallas Fuel, just like slowly pushing back, force Gladiators into a corner. Then look, Arn switches over to the Soldier because he feels like he's getting too much pressure from the Winston Genji to be able to play the Widow. Yeah, Happy versus Arn Sniper Duel, I want to see as well because those are they're probably the two best North American region hit scans right now, and they've been dunking on everyone. So what you're screaming about with the objective pressure, yeah, like, you know, we've seen so many teams, especially teams that try and play this Widow Roadhog shit, where they're just like trying to get picks on offense. It's like, no, you want to force them to look at the objective, force them to do something. If you just try and walk into a defensive team which has positioning with your own Widow and Roadhog, you're never going to get there, right? And this is like Dallas Fuel. This is peak Dallas Fuel here, right? High tempo, choke them out, give them no space, punish teams for trying to play these long range, high damage characters. And Reiner just hasn't been able to do anything. Reiner Lucio on this map. In general, Brig is better on this map to protect the Ana because of high grounds and stuff like that. Lucio can't really do as good an amount of climbing and getting value from the speed. Kilo was sick. Yeah, Kilo's been sick as well.
The Gladiators have no answer right now. I mean, while you have a nano, you're going to have to wait for Reiner to get back. Hemster nowhere close to a blade as well. Edison takes some shots there from Ons from behind. Has to back out.
The Ons does so much damage on the Soldier.
Alright, now, if you're a bit of a stat. Big impact for the man. He's going to try and back away, grab that Mega. Reiner knows he cannot leave the safety of his bubble.
Nano Reiner doesn't really get as much value as they would have liked.
They'll look to play a bit more defensively here and back away as the Gladiators try and get maybe...
Fields gets slept by Shu. Honestly, both Shu and Field have played really good in this series. Feels kind of getting a little greedy there. Like, it feels like Fearless goes in with his primal, like, completely solo, gets slept, and then just, like, tries to force the issue. Shu gets 2. But you lose 2 people, it's too hard on the attack. The spawns are too close to the Gladiators. I don't know. It feels like Fearless is trying to do too much there, like, and it's not coordinated.
Yeah, Sparkle almost has Shu dead to rights there. I think he just misses a shuriken. A repair pack quickly sails in from...
Who's your 2-week MVP and why is it Hardy? I think the player who has been the best in the opening 2 weeks would probably be... Honestly, it would either be Finn or Proper. I would give it to either, honestly.
You also just need some more, you know, damage and long-range damage, specifically, to really kind of get Lance out of that position up on that high ground, right? He's able to play up on the bridge.
Finn has been sick. Alright, Nano Blade. You don't see a lot of teams trying to Nano Blade these days. Kevsta pulls the blade though, goes with Reiner. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think Reiner and Kevsta have really good synergy. I feel like Kevsta Reiner is super sick on the dive. Feels like they're always moving in unison and working together. Because that was an important aggressive dive. Like, that's how you should play Overwatch should be played, right? If they're gonna nanoblade in, you shouldn't peel if you're the Winston Genji. You should go in and try and force a trade because, you know, the opposition just invested a lot of resources. And like, once again, they don't get much value out of the visor, but Kevster and Reiner getting good enough trades to be able to hold out the keep the defense going and then force another reset. So like, you don't need to win every fight as the defensive team, and I feel like Reiner and Kevster know that. They're going so aggressive, understanding they need to get 2 picks, 1-2 picks, and then it's value. Prediction for Shock vs Glads. My money's on Shock. Glads have not given me the confidence that they're going to be able to close out the match against Shock, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gladiators win. I think it's close. Feels Nano in. Good monkey bubble by oh my god, bubble juggle by Fearless to dodge the sleep. This was I remember this. This was a very uncharacteristically poor Winston juggle by Fearless. Like, that was pretty poor in the standards that we hold Fearless to. He got a lot of space and he forced a lot of things, like they had to nano the soldier and they had to do, so it wasn't awful, but yeah, we've seen Fearless in situations like that where he kills like 2. But still good play. Still good play.
It's a good offense there from the Dallas Fuel. Really big impact from Fearless there at the end.
I feel like Glad's got significantly better. I think they were always this good. I think it was more a case that the Gladiators were making some mistakes. You know, when they were playing weaker teams in the opening weekend, I think they were making certain mistakes. You know what I mean?
Really Fearless occupying 3.
They were, and you know, that showed even more so in this Dallas Fuel matchup where they end up getting reverse swept. Right? So those mistakes that little teams maybe get a little bit of life, they get one map here and there, you know, those are the little things that when we're harping about them, it's like, oh, they only won 3-1. Like, they didn't look clean. They didn't look flawless. The reason we harp on those things so much is because when you play against the best teams, when you play against, you know, the top end of North America, they're going to punish you way harder for smaller amounts of things. So if a weaker team can punish you, then the best teams are going to be able to take it in extra mile. And that's what ended up giving them 3 maps. These little mistakes, because Gladiators didn't play badly in this series, I don't think at all. There was just little mistakes, ultimate usage, positioning, all that kind of stuff that went by the wayside, and then Dallas just continually punished it. Like, these first 2 maps as well, like, people like to say Gladiators were this close, and then they threw, like, Dallas were very close to winning these first 2 maps as well. They get all 3 points with 1 minute remaining in Gibraltar. In that last push map, as I said, if they don't fuck up that final team fight, they win that. They were in the driver's seat to win that map. So I think almost Dallas fueled through the first map. Did someone BM recently? The Gladiators actually BM on Ilios. In the map coming up soon. They were just shooting dead bodies. And like, I don't know, chat, what is your take on this? Because I'm curious. I feel like shooting dead bodies is more disrespectful than teabagging. I don't know why, but it just seems very weird when you're shooting dead bodies. But you know, it's all just, you know, kind of banter in its own way. But yeah, you know, talk shit, get hit. It's all fun and games, right? Yeah, it's like, it's all fun and games, but like, I think shooting, like, I think teabagging is more funny than shooting a body. You know, shooting and teabagging is funny. Teabagging is worse, really? Ah, okay, interesting. I enjoy BM. Yeah, I have no problem with it. You know, it's like, it's the classic, you want to talk your crap, you want to BM by teabagging and shooting buddies. You know, it is what it is. It's part of the game. But hey, that, like, the reason you don't do it sometimes, like, some players, like, there are some players when they get teabagged, they'll play worse because they'll get in their own head. They'll feel like they're being disrespected and they'll play worse. You got to be careful who you teabag. Like, you know, Houston Outlaws last year when who did they do that to? Fuck, who did they talk shit on that Dorado where it's like, you're going home soon? Was it the Justice? Yeah. Like, some teams, when you trash talk, they're gonna come back better, because some players, when you disrespect them, they take that personally and they will use that to fuel fire and go strong. So you got to be like, it's all a mental game, right? It's a competition. If you can make someone play worse, and I think Jake knows this better than anyone. Well, I guess he fucked up against the Justice. Jake knows this better than anyone. The mental aspect of it is important as well. So And I took that personally, justice, yeah. So I have no problem with that kind of BM. As I said, even like the London Spitfire Atlanta Reign stuff yesterday from when they said it's not coming home, as long as you're not attacking someone personally and as long as it's just in-game competition, I got no problem with it. What happens in game happens in game. Let them go. As long as no one's getting in fights and no one's disrespecting anyone in terms of like them personally and shit like that, or attacking someone, it's all fair game. You guys okay? Yeah, like you guys okay? Like that's like, as I said, it's BM, but it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's competition.
A lot of defense coming in from the Fuel as Fearless a nice shot picks up one. They trying to back up this in. Edison's so low.
So Gladiators get almost free. Actually, let's go back because I was on my tirade of that speech. Let's go back and see, well, how did Gladiators just roll through this so easy? I don't remember. Does Arns hit a big shot? Oh, Kevster gets Edison. I think Edison has been good. Oh, Kevster gets Sparkle as well? What the, like, I wish we had the replay viewer so I could see these kind of things of how they're happening. But yeah, like, Edison's been good from time to time, especially his Reaper, and I think we see better things from him in the series. The one thing Edison, or, you know, one of the things Edison really needs to work on is getting caught out. You know, we saw it on that push map on Colosseo. He needs to stop dying for free. Dude, Kevster gets Chio as well alone. Like, how is Kevster getting these kills? What is happening? But yeah, Edison's got to really be careful with how he's getting punished because it's really hurting the Fuel. And like the Fuel being very flawless and hard to punish has been one of their biggest strengths. And if Edison, you know, it just takes one broken part of that chain to like make it all come undone. And that's sort of what's happening on this map so far.
I mean, you're going to get staggered here like crazy too, right? And now you have to deal with sort of Widow having decent angles here.
Do you think Sparkle's getting... Yeah, Sparkle got caught out from time to time as well, right? Like, you know, and I talked about it earlier. I think Sparkle hasn't been playing to the performance that we expect from him. You know, we put him on a very high pedestal and he hasn't played to that this season yet. So I'm waiting for when the real Sparkle stands up, you know? Will the real Sparkle please stand up? Because what we have so far in a Genji meta, right? Like, Genji's not going to stay meta for very long. It's kind of been disappointing that we haven't got the Sparkle magic. Thoughts on Patty right now? The Glad DPS lineup kind of reminds me of Shock. Yeah, I really like the Gladiators DPS lineup. I think Patty Fan just needs confidence. And I said that earlier in the VOD review. I just want to see Patty Fan get some confidence. I'm glad he didn't play against Dallas. Like, I feel like if Patty Fan had played really badly against Dallas and Gladiators had lost, he would... It seems like he's putting a lot of pressure and stress on himself. So maybe that's why he didn't play this weekend. We don't really know what's going on. But yeah, I trust Patty. I trust in Patty Fan. I just need him to trust in himself. Could be early season jitters. Yeah, you know, it's his first. You know, he's a rookie coming into the league. He's playing. He has high expectations. He's on one of the best teams in the league. Of course, it's going to be nerve-wracking as a player. So, why do you say Genji won't be meta for long? I think Genji's already starting to fall out of the meta, and I can only see Genji getting nerfed rather than buffed at this point. Didn't he give up his Valorant career for this as well? Yeah, he was doing pretty well in Valorant as well, so. Like, look at that blade by Sparkle. Like, that's not a Sparkle blade. Like, he pulls it on the Genji who has dash, unable to really get that thing, and then he just didn't find another good target. Like, obviously, this is better Sparkle, right? Like, finding that target acquisition and that kind of stuff, but it's kind of interesting. Genji's Giga counter? Yeah, but, like, Genji's been Giga... We've seen Sparkle play Genji and Giga counted and not good Genji metas in the past, right? We've seen other players make it work. What do you think is the current meta now? If you said, Custa, we have some generic team called the Beijing Bears, and we need to work out what meta to play, and we just have generic players who have average skill on all heroes. In my opinion, the best composition to play right now would be Winston, Lucio, Ana, Soldier, Tracer. I think that is like the generic meta that one size fits all. I think there are times in which you can play the Genji instead of the Tracer. I think there are times you can play the Widow instead of the Soldier. I think there are times you can play the Zarya instead of the Winston. You can play Reaper if you're going to play that with that Zarya. But if in general, that's what I would expect to be the meta.
So the Gladiators, you probably don't really even hate that push.
We saw a lot more Tracer this recent weekend. I like Tracer a lot more than the Echo. I think the Tracer can be better than Genji on like maps like this, where you have high grounds and stuff. But I honestly like the Tracer, especially against the Doomfist. I've been liking the Tracer a lot more recently. I feel like Kaluja's performance has been shadowed by Proper and Finn. Kaluja's been insane. I think the reason you don't see Kaluj getting as much love is because he's just doing his job. We haven't seen anything super fancy or sexy out of him, you know what I mean? He's just doing his job while Proper and Finn are playing the flashy heroes and the flashy plays and stuff like that. I want to see Kaluj in good matches. I'm looking forward to seeing how Kaluj plays against the Los Angeles Gladiators this weekend, because that's for me the real test. It's easy to look good when you're on one of the best teams in the league, absolutely dominating the lower end teams. You know, when we see him play with the big boys, that's when I make my true judgment. Rhino vs Kaluj, yeah, right? At least in the West, yeah. Like, obviously, we're talking about the West. These regions are divided up. Reiner is far better than Kaluj. We have it's very hard to make that justification, right? Like, you can't give merit to that statement, at least if you're just looking at their results in the league thus far. He's saying Outlaws are not the big boys. Hey, Outlaws was a good test for the Shock, and I think they did well. But I think the Outlaws game, I feel like they pigeonholed themselves with the Doomfist, and Shock just knew how to beat it, right? It didn't feel like we were seeing a true head-to-head like we will see when we have the Gladiators versus the Dallas Fuel or the San Francisco Shock. Kev's the Blade. That's a pretty good Blade. Like, honestly, if you get a 1k Blade these days and you don't die, you take that. They punish Fearless as well. Yeah, I feel like Fearless and Sparkle have just not been as impactful as Reiner and Kevsta have been. You know, obviously, outside of certain things, right? Good rally by Chio. Where was Arns? Yeah, once again, Sparkle goes down on the Blade. Like, I think Sparkle's just struggling. They nanoed Kevster in the front line as well. So Gladiators are trying to win this? Reiner needs to get, he's got to be careful. He needs to get to his primal. He's going to get it. Oh, Skew gets Sparkle. Sparkle goes Tracer and instantly dies again. Yeah, Sparkle's having a rough game of it. It's hard to understand why he's getting bullied, but yeah, like that. And like, that all goes back to like, that was a really good disengage by the Gladiators, other than Kevster getting, oh no, Arn's getting caught. The disengage, like, Dallas Fuel come out, pop the rally. The Gladiators all disengage. Kevster gets caught. They nano Kevster, keep him in the fight, peel onto Sparkle, kill Sparkle, and then re-engage. Like, that's just like clean. Like, that's the Gladiators that are going to be able to be one of the best teams in North America. If they did that consistently throughout this entire series, they'd be great. But, you know, it's about to get real ugly. That nanoed Sparkle instead of Fearless. Yeah, I don't really like the nano Genji unless they're in a small corridor. But even then, like, I don't really like the nano Genji over the nano Winston. I personally like the nano Winston more. If they're both going to be diving in, I prefer the nano Winston. Unless the Winston has primal, maybe you can make a justification for that. But yeah.
I do think that the Dallas Fuel, if you're not going to play the Widow, they've done a really nice job of being able to kind of circumvent what the Widowmaker does.
I can't wait until you get the replay viewer. Yeah, it'd be really cool to be able for them to give replay viewer active. I've been questioning. I'm going to keep following it up as well.
Edison pushing the payload to make that difference. This is towards the end. Final fight there.
But he would have survived and killed at least the Brig, yeah. But like at the end of the day, like if they nano Fearless, like, he can get more done, and you don't need the Genji to go in with the Winston, like, or at least all in with the Winston. Like, I see what you mean, like, absolutely, but. Alright, so they both got 1 minute. Let's see what the Gladiators do here. Would you rather take Proper or Kevster on a team? Probably Proper, because I feel like he has a higher ceiling. But, you know, we're so early in the season. We haven't seen enough Proper in the league. Like, if you're a safety Sally, you'd probably take Kevster. But Proper's just looked so sick, and there's no reason to think he's not going to be sick. Oh, my God. Fielder didn't die. That was crazy. I don't think there's been a crazy number of biotic nades, like big one. There was some big boy biotic nades in this, in some of the other series, but I don't think we've seen too many of those. And that's probably just good positioning. Can you imagine if he deflect headshotted that, Reiner for that? That would have been sick. Oh, it's a big damage. That would have been such a sick shot. Arns is gambling right here. Yeah. Chio just gets punished on the car. I don't think Dallas were gonna win that anyway, but actually Fearless was about to get primal. There's a chance that Fearless wins that. Probably not. Fielder C9. Fielder might have died. Like, Fielder needed to live if he didn't touch. But yeah. I really love the nades that Finn and UV had. Dude, Finn hit some fucking bonkers nades in that series. The series that he played. It feels like Finn is just running around for free. Genuine C9. I'm a fuel guy.
Push the cart. You can force some fights down there. So, definitely winnable for the Dallas Fuel. So, minute and 4 is not... I mean, we just saw minute and 3. Minute 4 is just... It's not a lot of time. I mean, it's what? 2-3 fights?
You think this is the best teams that face each other? I think this is the best match that we've seen thus far. I think this is the highest level of play we've seen, where it like feels like you're nitpicking the little things rather than just like watching it and trying to avert your eyes. Like when you watch like Vancouver Titans play, right? Like it feels like both teams were playing at a high level and the little mistakes were getting punished.
He didn't find a key pick, but he forces everyone to play inside that small room there, just in the middle of your screen, which kind of sets Kevster up here.
It's sort of famine, right?
Yeah.
But even
Titans catching strays out here. Dude, they're going to catch a lot more strays. August 14th. How's the schedule made? I assume it's just put into a generator type thing. Where it's like they put requirements and stuff like that. But yeah. You better from COVID? Yeah, I'm doing okay. My throat's a little sore. So I'm trying not to be too loud and speaking too much. Would love Shock more if they dropped Violet and picked up main support. I've been liking the Violet main support thus far. Obviously, it's another one of like, we need to see the Shock tested and we need to see the Violet Lucio tested. Because that's like, it's like in this Dallas Fuel Gladiators match that I was talking about, right? It comes down to, when will we see those players be tested? When will we see these teams be tested? And that's when the truth of the weaknesses will come out. Because it's so easy to look like a good player when your team is just dominating, right? Shock vs. Houston, as I said, I don't think Shock vs. Houston was a super true test. I think the Houston Outlaws kind of struggled playing the Doomfist against Shock. Like, Shock looked good, and I'm not saying that's not a true test. But I want to see them play against Gladiators or Dallas, right? That's the true test for me. Skew gets 2. How does that happen? Sorry, I looked away for a second. So we're taking space. Look at how much space Arns provide just by existing as Widow. They're doing a good job of just letting Arns get into position and letting them walk forward. Like, and then look, they force off blue, they force off everything. Yeah, Arns can't be under there. That was a really greedy angle. Right, like they hurted them, but I don't understand how Skewed... Yeah, it's hard to know how Skewed really gets Fearless. And then gets Fielder. Like, Skewed just run down the Winston and the Ana. And there it is.
Dallas Fuel forced away a lot of displacement effects. Guarantee the win there for the Gladiators. A very close map, though.
Yeah, you lose Ons first.
Shock struggle heavily on hybrid. Hybrid map. Both 2 map losses have been hybrid. I would generally say because hybrid maps are generally the ones in which people play like these like Zarya styles. Because they lost to New York on Kings Row. Who did they lose to? What map did they lose against Houston? You're saying it was hybrid? Was it Ike? Midtown? Right. Oh yeah, didn't they got held on 3rd point? Yeah. 2nd? I thought it was 3rd. Was 2nd? Aye. Yeah, I can't exactly remember that, but yeah, like, I don't know. I don't, you know, with a sample size of like 2, like they've only had 2 losses, I'm not looking into the fact that they don't know how to play hybrid or anything like that. Even the one against NYXL as well, like, I don't think they'll put in their best foot forward. So, we're going to watch that match. We're going to watch NYXL versus Shock NYXL at some point. We'll talk about that then. Gladiators just barely won those 2 maps. Yeah, and that, like, as I said, that's an important thing to note as well. People like Gladiators through, they were 2-0 up and they were dominating in the series. Not really. Like, Dallas Fuel were 1 team fight away from winning both of these matches, first 2 maps, and then we could have easily seen a 3-0, and the conversation is very different about how we're talking about the Gladiators, right? So this was a very close match back and forth, and I would say these 2 teams were very evenly matched. I think the disappointing thing for me and my big takeaway is that these are both great teams, but Gladiators need to be careful about overusing ults and sort of choking when it matters most, because we'll talk about the chokes here as time goes on. So we see Hanbin come back in to play the Zarya. You know, this has been a pretty good Zarya map in general. And you can see they play Edison on the Reaper. And I think Edison's Reaper is the thing that I've liked the most. The best look for them. And you got to sort of see how they play it. And Sparkle just goes too aggressive. Like, I don't think Sparkle needs to go that aggressive there. He doesn't need to be at the forefront. They have so much charge, and Edison's alive. Like, you see, even without Sparkle, they're winning the fight. But yeah, like, they play it so well. They just, it's kind of like a death ball. They move as a team. Hanbin bubbles the Reaper and anyone who gets hard dove. You're kind of like baiting them to dive you, because you don't want to dive as Zarya, especially if she has 2 bubbles. When Hanbin said, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Dude, Hanbin's sick. Dude, Hanbin on the Zarya is like, he's by far the best Zarya that we have. Just looking at his plays and the value that he gets from his bubbles is just incredible.
Yeah, this is what we thought was going to be their main issue, right? Being able to try and take this high ground. What it ended up being for the series we casted earlier this week was they were able to use like the Reaper TPs and, you know,
like, look at the bubbles are always on point. Like, that allows Edison to create so much space. Then they nano Sparkle. I think Edison should have run with that. That's a nanovisor. You get nanovisor out. That's not a bad play. Like, that cost them the nano on the Genji. But
we'll see how they keep going with it.
I saw that. What was funny, Astro doing the stairs. He's not allowing the Reaper to walk up the stairs and get control of castle for free. Which is smart. Like, you know, Lucio, if you can keep the Reaper in mid-range, it's really good. Do you think Rain is similar to Houston in their style of play? Absolutely. You know, they're both very heavily relying on the Doomfist style, and I think they're both going to get bit in the butt. I wouldn't be surprised to see both Houston and Atlanta change their style and, you know, move around with different heroes and compositions in future weekends. Sparkle goes down again, dude. Like, Sparkle is struggling right now. I didn't realize Sparkle was struggling so hard. Good copy by Kevster. Custa Echo, hard count is Genji. Yeah. But, like, then Sparkle needs to switch, right? Like, I think Sparkle should either be playing the Tracer or the Echo. I think, honestly, Tracer would be pretty good against this Glad's team. Like, he could just move around, sort of flank around. I feel like Sparkle just needs too many resources as the Genji. And then, like, he has this blade where, like someone named me a time when we saw Sparkle pull a blade like this. Like, this isn't like, oh, he pulls the blade. He misses the slash. Like, he has the slash. He gets this dash slash, just misses it. Arns dies if he hits this slash. You just lost him. Like, these are just, like, things we don't see from Sparkle, right? Obviously, great beat by Funny Astro ends up saving him. You know, he would have died anyway. And then he, like, fucks up the wall tech. It's just weird. It's just weird. It feels like Sparkle ain't playing the same level. Movement speed weirdness? Yeah, maybe. Sparkle D tier Genji. Good grab. And look at how good this grab is. Look at how 9-head this grab was. I remember this. Look at this. Oh, God. Oh, no. My fielder is dead. He's going to die. Not on Hanbin's watch. Out of bubbles. No problem. Grabs the Reiner. Gets the 2 kills. Filter lives, staying in old spawn, right? Like, Hanbin, just clean with it.
Really just has to shepherd his teammates away or suffer the wrath of Edison.
He's just a legend.
Here as well, so that's both supports you're gonna lose. We'll see if the Gladiators can come out and fight this again. You still have Kipster.
No ults for Dallas though, yeah, but they use them all to get aggressive, and they keep staying aggressive. As long as they can punish things early and play together. Like, look at this as well, dude. Hanbin is so gigabrain, knowing that they have no ultimates and he has charge. Look, he's just walking at them. He's just walking. Just knows that they don't have the time and the freedom to be able to stop and kill him. He probably has 2 bubbles, and he just walks at the back line. Just walks at Arns. Funny Astro has to turn to help Arns, so Funny Astro can't go to the point. And then Kevster and Reiner just have to go to the point on their own, and they just lose. And then even Hanbin doesn't even die for that as well. Like,
4 minutes and 12 on the clock here in Dallas.
it's so easy to miss the impact that Hanbin is having on that Zarya. Wegway, thank you for the 100 bits. Thoughts on Houston Bastion? Oh, God.
Through that tougher part of the map with the Zarya. Now I feel like, I mean, she's back to shining in this.
Isn't Hanbin the one that everyone says selfless with bubbles? Yeah, you should watch him. Hanbin's walking around on 0 energy with 2 bubbles. I would have bubbled myself twice during that time that I've watched him, like, try and get energy. And he just, like, he's so selfless with them. Like, he's giving them away so often, and he's so timely with them. How are you feeling better? I'm doing okay. Thank you. Hanbin best player in the league? Maybe. The thing, you know what the thing that is the telltale sign of why a player is so good as well? It's not the casters giving crazy amounts of praise. It's not the desk giving tons amount of praise. It's not Reddit. It's not Twitter. You know, obviously we're all just bots making shit up for entertainment. The thing that makes Hanbin so good and why you should respect it is the number of pro players that come out and say how good Hanbin is. I have seen, I would say, more than 10 different tweets of different players tweeting out about how good Hanbin is as a player. And if you listen to any interview of people talking about Hanbin, they say he is incredible. Like, not just like the last, you know, not just this season, but like in previous seasons as well. Everyone has such high praise for him as a player.
So he switches targets midway through this tack, and this is a good way to force Dallas to batten the hatches, but they will be back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it looked like Dallas thought about getting aggressive going around.
Do people say that about other players? Like, there are other players that do get that level of praise from time to time, you know? But yeah, I think I hear it most consistently about Hanbin.
Funny Astro just gets absolutely posterized there as he tries to climb the wall, and that's 2 now for Hanbin.
Another value bubble.
Everything coming up Millhouse for the Dallas Fuel here, Matt, and they'll get it home with 3 minutes and 9 seconds to spare.
How is Sparkle supposed to kill a soldier who is sprint dodging unpredictably?
Gladiators here on
I don't know. That's how he's always done it, right? Like,
use of this
he lost track of him, right? Like, that's not something that Sparkle does. Yeah, for a pleb Genji like me, it's very common to lose control of that soldier. But like, we're talking about the best Genjis in the world. They seem to have a 6th sense, a 3rd eye for these kind of things, right?
Dallas Fuel, they do this to perfection with this composition.
I don't know if soldier could kill the soldier that. Well, I don't know. Like, you can do the hypotheticals of like my criticism of Sparkle, but as I said, we're not talking about, oh, we just want Sparkle to be good. We expect Sparkle to be the best.
The Reaper's going to teleport forward, obviously. Did that extra Zarya bubble? I mean, makes it pretty hard to do.
Like, all he had to do was take a millisecond to turn around, right? Like, and not take the best Genjis in the world know when they're supposed to hesitate, know when they're supposed to wait, know when they're supposed to slash, right?
Sticky bombs and, you know, and prolong their lifespan here. This is probably Dallas's signature and best look.
Take a look here from Fielder's POV. This is where, yeah, he nanos Hanbin.
This was such a good nano onto Hanbin, and Hanbin just goes pounding.
There you go.
He's so charged.
When do you think times will be the best? 2019. Oh no. Sad but true.
You see how much charge he gains off those bubbles, whether it's onto the Reaper.
I'm having the out of pop-up potential. Yeah, it's been awesome to see flex supports really popping off, flexing on them.
Interesting that they'll have Sparkle play the 76.
This Dallas comp just feels better than the Winston. I think there are times where you can't play the Zarya and you want to play the Winston, like, and then you like here's how I think the meta should be played. In maps like where you can play Zarya Reaper, play Zarya Reaper. If you can't play Zarya Reaper and you think it's hard to play Winston Tracer. And that's how I would try and play the game right now. It feels like teams are having the most success playing those comps. Oh, Shu is just in it. And it worked, I guess. Dude, Gladiators just walked in. Disrespect. BAP is definitely going to get the current, if the current update is implemented. Yeah, I haven't really played a lot of the new beta. Because I didn't really play much over the weekend, but it looks interesting to see the Baptiste regenerative burst change. That seems very strong. Gives you a lot of defensive capability with that.
I think obviously we've seen so much from this team in the past where they do, but
No, I mean, the same happened on Gibraltar then, Matt. It's a great point. They look really good, and then they just...
Literally, AoE Brig 1.0.
Situation.
With the shift, it's only 50 health. You know, it doesn't change that much.
Didn't play out in their favor. But Eddie now...
Yeah, I want to play around with the Mercy change as well, with the super jump. I really like the change of the super jump. I think it's a really cool change. I think it's kind of like Lucio with old wall riding, where like it was so hard to wall ride effectively that only the best players could do it, right? Like, you know, you had to put so much time and effort and energy into learning how to do high level wall riding when by the changes that they made, it's a lot easier to wall ride. It's a lot easier to go fast. And I think that's a good change. And that's the same thing with Mercy super jump. I think it's a cool thing to give to Mercy. And allow, you know, less skilled players to be able to utilize it, right? I think, yeah, like I've seen it, people get sent a little too high. Like if you like actually super jump and use the new change of the jump, you can go like dumb high. I think that's a problem, and that definitely needs to be tweaked so that it's more balanced. But I think it's a cool idea.
nano boosted Hanbin in your backline.
Oh, funny Astro just gets solo grabbed.
Just funny, Astro and
Hanbin with the disrespect, but I like it. Like just playing to hold close. I don't know why. Like what? Someone tell me why Arns pops the visor here. Like, so they grab Funny Astro, you're one down. Arns is there, they're all backing up. Like, that's a bad ult by Arns, right? Like, you don't want to be ulting like that. And then he dies, like, it's just, this is like where I really start to see like the Gladiators fall through the cracks. They start making minor mistakes. Like, that was a bad ult by Arns. You know, like, you just take that grab from Hanbin and you accept it, right? And then they have to use their beat blade to get out of spawn, which isn't a bad play. Like, I think one of the reasons these like touch the spawn, oh wow, one of the reasons these touch the spawn situations work so well is that the offensive team is so afraid to use ultimates because they're playing aggressive, right? They don't want to use ultimates because they're in spawn. You don't want to waste your ults when you're in spawn, but you need to commit ults. Oh, that's right. Chio uses the beat here, but gets slept instantly. This is just unfortunate timing. There's literally like the timing window of this sleep from Shu is just, it's completely random. But grid sleep from Shu nonetheless.
Chio went to rock bottom.
sick play from Shu though.
Yeah, great way.
Shu and UV are performing godly. I want to put Finn in that list as well.
You have a really short window to interrupt him there. Shu's just a little cracked.
Finn is, I think the most impressive player for me this season has been Finn. And then someone. I would say they are the players that impressed me the most. Because Proper, I was expecting to be impressed. But Finn and someone have been really nice. Big pickups for me.
Yeah, and this will allow the Dallas Fuel to get in a position where they'll be able to hold that high ground. They'll have Sparkle up there on the 76, and then if they want to jump up, you also have that Reaper in position to do some damage.
Really, Kaluja's been good. I just want to see more from Kaluj. Like, I feel like Kaluja's been good. He's definitely done his job. He's been super impressive, but like, I don't think he's had that same level of like, wow impact that I've seen from, you know, like Finn and someone. But maybe it's just because he's being overshadowed by Proper and Finn.
Well, they did nano Hans, and he did.
I like Kaluj because Kaluj is flexible, right? Like, Kaluj can play all the off tanks, right? Like, he's obviously playing a really good Winston right now, but like he can also play like a lot of the tanks as well. Like I don't know what would Kaluj's worst tank be? That was a pretty good primal by Reiner. It gave them the space. I'm just a little worried. This was a very weird sim TP by Sparkle. I think he went too early. If he had waited like a millisecond for Edison to try and touch, but oh yeah, you guys want to look at that? Was it Arrow? Arrow did this nade? I actually didn't like, I saw the clip, but I didn't really understand it. Where is...
Well, they nanoed,
He said his ball needs work, okay.
Nano Ons, and he did force, like, Ons and Shu out of the fight for a very long time.
Right over the primal range, he's able to come back in, and oh my!
So it's the nade from Fielder? No, the nade from Shu. What am I looking at here?
Well, they nanoed up.
Fielder cross map nade. Wait, is it from across the map?
He's in.
Nade from Fielder kills Shu. Alright, let me look for it. Because I wasn't paying attention. Fielder is off the map and nades Shu.
That ain't it, Chief.
Well, they nanoed up. They did nano Ons, and he did force like Ons and Shu out of the fight for a very long time.
Oh, okay, there goes Fielder. Where's Shu? Yeah, where's Shu? What the fuck?
He will have to give up his life for that. And the question is it really
That's really funny. So he gets primaled off and then did he throw it in the air, you think? Just fucking yeeted it in the air? Because it died so much later, so he had to throw that straight up.
Just to get a TP.
Under bridge, it was a crazy nade. Yo, that's actually sick. That's actually sick.
Just get on the point.
Literally saves the retake, yeah. It's like, yeah, like if Shu's here, like this fight's over, like, because they just needed healing. Yeah, that's a tilter. It's carried by Hanbin, yeah.
very low with tails between legs. The Gladiators slink off home. For shame.
Yeah, Chio gets back. He's able to touch. They get Hanbin back.
Right off the field, because I'll show you there's a streak of white from the nade through the top of the screen, really. Man, we need to get the replay viewer so I can start seeing this shit. It's so hard to like analyze when you can't see other pobs and stuff like that.
You've also kept
I think the spectating was way better this weekend though. I think the stream and the spectating and everything was way better. This is a big death blossom. Why is the Gladiators in a small room?
They are deceased.
the payload. Somebody was on it here. I believe it was Kepster, but not gonna back cap here on the fuel.
45.
I thought Edison was thinking about maybe making a change, but decides to stay on Reaper. They'll have Reaper.
Hanbin sub really changed the game for Dallas. Well, they only played Fearless on one map, and that's supposed to be a Winston map. Like, I don't think Fearless was playing bad or Dallas was playing too bad before this. So that was another visor, by the way, that goes by the wayside for Arns. So then like Kevster gets like, so like let's think about this, right? So it's like Kevster, like the Arns uses the visor before, and then Kevster goes in with the blade, but just gets like isolated by the rest of the team. And I think Mitch did a great job of like Matt does a great job of highlighting why the Reaper is so good, because he's just so hard to kill. Without an off tank, I feel like it's hard to mitigate the damage of the Reaper. You just nano the Reaper in, he goes aggressive, and 3 different players have to turn to deal with the Reaper, and then he still trades 1-for-1. And by occupying those 3 players, like Matt just said, you know, Kevster gets isolated. I just don't think Genji's that good. I think Genji's just very feast or famine. I think we saw a lot of Genji pop off in the first weekend. I don't think we've seen anywhere near as much Genji pop off in the second weekend. I think Genji was more of a liability more often than not. I just want to see more Tracer. Like, I think teams just need to play Tracer over the Genji. My GM Tracer take. Or more Reaper. Like, I think Reaper looks still pretty solid. Yeah. But I think the Reaper with the Zarya, you kind of need the Zarya for the bubbles to get in effectively, consistently. Want to see more Proper Tracer? Dude, Proper Tracer is filthy. Alright, let's see Ilios. Tracer and Reaper coming back, yeah, for sure.
He was like, I mean, you wait till you see Hanbin on Doomfist, man. So, you know, definitely had my interest peaked there, but this Zarya look is such that I don't really need to see too much variety from him. I'm quite happy to see that.
Filthy.
Teams that are really pushing this look, and so far they're making it their own.
Alright, so Gladiator's gonna come out on the Doomfist. It seems like Reiner likes the Doomfist against the Reaper. That seems to be like how he likes doing it. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess better than the Winston, maybe? We can play the Echo Soldier. Yeah, like, I think Sparkle should just go Tracer here. Like, I don't think Genji against the Echo Soldier is just going to be a bad time, and he's just already dead, right? Like, I just really don't like the Genji. Is he gonna switch Tracer? Actually, I don't remember if he does. Yeah, he does.
Alive a little bit longer, and you don't know if he's going to come out of that or stay in it, whatnot.
Is there any balance change you'd like to see after the first 2 weeks? I just want the Soldier balance change, and that's already coming through. I think Soldier is just too oppressive right now in the meta.
Yeah, there's no way to stop that.
And I think you need to make some other supports better. I don't want to see Ana or Lucio really get nerfed. I just want to see other supports get better, I think.
That projected barrier from Zarya. So it's like when you blow your cooldowns on him and he just immediately
Tank, would you run against the Reaper?
sort of cancels those out with the immortality.
Honestly, there's not a lot of great options.
Another bubble in the mix.
I don't think it's really on the tank. I think it's more on the other heroes to like. I think Tracer like checks a Reaper pretty well as well, especially with the spread changes. Like if you can just stay in the mid range as Tracer and just pick at this Reaper, just forcing Wraith. Oh, nice, nice sleep into kill. Gotta get Shu though.
Able to snipe Shu down across the map. But the Gladiators have the positional advantage here as Hanbin is forced into that corner, so they lose.
Guys get the point though, which is pretty bad.
And are they going to be able to flip it back? Because we got a Sparkle versus Ons matchup here on the side. As oh, here come the Zarya bubbles. Yeah, Geo comes
Sparkle dies? That's so bad. Like, Sparkle's trying to chase the kill of Shu, but then he dies, and they straight up lose the cap for that. Man, Sparkle has not had a good series. I don't remember him struggling as much as he is right now. Like, they eventually get the cap back, and you have to use the beat to hold on to it, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Oh, Chio's probably dead for that, right? Oh.
Sparkle able to get rid of Reiner and Dallas. Stay.
What buffs does Diva need? I don't know. Diva theoretically should be good. Maybe just more Matrix, like, or something. I don't really know what the weaknesses is with Diva, because I think Diva is still good, and when I play Diva it seems good, but it feels like every time we've seen someone try and play Diva it fails,
They're looking out there from Sparkle.
and it's hard to really know why.
Out of the fight early on here. Edison, currently it's just the lightning.
Oh my god.
0 final blows. 2 deaths now. As he draws out a lot of this attention here, but hasn't found a ton of kills himself. Sleep there for Kempster on the duplicate. Geo.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, can Hanbin contest this for a little bit longer? You're going to have Sparkle come back. He's going to jump on.
Maybe faster boosters. Yeah, like I think you can mess with some of the numbers and some of the things to make her better.
Higher. Edison.
Alright, good salt.
Let the man touch the ground at the very least. Great
So
predictive
94.
fire grenade there.
So they get up to 94.
Anna keep counters. Yeah, Anna's pretty good against Reaper, right? But like,
Be spread out.
if you play against the sleep and stuff like that, and you play it well, like Reaper can be good against the Anna.
Like, you're almost like, do we sacrifice a player, right? Like, you know, if Reiner gets...
I also think the nerf for Anna's nade, so that the duration of the purple is only 3 seconds, is a really good change.
So you're looking
Like one of the biggest problems with the purple is it just seems to last forever.
Scenario here, considering how distributed the Gladiators are. A lot of damage on Kempster there, and I think right now Shu is occupied.
Oh, nice death blossom by Edison.
With the Death Blossom comes up well. Arns goes down here, and Reiner can't do too much either. Again, nothing subtle about this. Edison gets in your face, gives you no choice.
They don't even need the graph. You still have a pulse bomb as well. Maybe they'll want to combo these ultimates, but Sparkle with the...
Yeah, like I think when they play the Reaper Tracer Zarya, they look way better. Like even then, like I don't think Edison or Spark got a lot of space there, but it feels really hard for the Gladiators to do anything.
Zarya in there as well, because now the Zarya comes in all charged up, more bubbles for herself, for the...
Didn't Super say Diva was garbage when he screamed? Yeah, but like the thing is, I don't understand why Diva's garbage. Like maybe it's because I think one of the reasons Diva might be so garbage is because of Soldier. Like I think Soldier just has too much defense matrix and Soldier just sits in the mid range that I think you just pick down the Diva,
Like what they're trying to
right? And then the Diva can never get close enough without just like
love to see them
getting shredded.
and
So
try and
I don't think Echo is the play there. I just don't think Echo is good against the Tracer Reaper.
pick or two.
Zarya. Like, I just don't think the Echo ever gets crazy enough value. I'd prefer the Genji or just a mirrored Tracer of your own. Like, I honestly think Gladiators should just play the Tracer Soldier themselves.
Seems like really with this combination,
But Kevster doesn't seem to want to do that, so I wonder if there's a reason of, like, why he doesn't like Tracer.
maybe just because of the map of Colosseo, but yeah.
Keep an eye out here for just how much Edison occupies Shu.
Like, I don't hate the Genji against the Reaper Tracer, I don't think.
When that happens. Really hard for Shu to
But I feel like Zarya, like, yeah, I don't know. It could just be hard to go in.
get a big jump scare every
Not a bad nade by Shu.
side to the back line there for Reiner. Follow
Edison's just getting... Edison needed to run more. He didn't really respect... And then Arns has that off angle, like...
feeling confident, but the
That's how the Gladiators need to play it. They need to, like, surround the Zarya and spread the Zarya too thin. And that's why I like the Tracer as well, is that you, like... the Soldier takes an angle, the Tracer takes an angle, and then Doomfist sort of like is that front line for your Lucio Ana, and just force the Zarya to walk forward into crossfires.
He doesn't have the help of the Lucio or the Ana, but at least they're able to kind of exist on the other side.
I feel like Sombra might be good. No, I just don't think Zarya is very good. Sombra is very good. I'm curious to see if APAC plays Sombra. If anyone's going to play Sombra, it's going to be the APAC region. I want to see if they've made her work, because everything we've seen from Sombra so far in like the meta is like Sombra just isn't good, and no one really is committing to playing her. I think her hack is just too short, and then her damage buff is only really for her, so I don't think you really see the impact of the hacks. Nano Visor, just too strong.
Just play with more space if you're the Gladiators, right? Reiner with sick mobility will be able to kind of get back. We've seen him on.
She has too much downtime, yeah, and I think that's a big problem that people don't realize about Sombra as well, is that like every time you have to recall, you're out of the fight for at least 5 seconds, and I think that time adds up too much, especially with how fast-paced Overwatch 2 is. Like, I think if you're gonna play Sombra, you don't even play her as like a stealth backliner in a way. Good blade by Custa. Like that's just a clean play, right? Like, just go for the blade, get the easy kill, and then just go on. And Dallas Fuel just like, Hanbin hasn't charged a grab yet. Hanbin is struggling to do anything. And I think this is like a prime example of where Zarya is bad. Like, the sidelines are just so long that it feels like Zarya just, you can never walk forward. Like, every time you walk forward, you get punished. But if you stay in that mid ground, you don't do anything. And like, it can look really bad. And that's why I think there are maps like this where you need to play the Soldier as Winston, right? Like, I think this is a prime map where if Hanbin can play the Winston and Edison can play the Soldier, you would do that. And we actually see them. I actually don't know if they do that exact thing on Lighthouse. I think it's close to that, but we definitely see the Hanbin Winston.
Like how close quarter that point is. I think once we get there,
I think where there are corners and there are chokes, Zarya is way better, like Eichenwald, like we just saw. But anywhere where it's just linear and long sightlines, I think Zarya really struggles. Who was playing Sombra on Coliseum? Probably the Mayhem. Yeah, like I think Checkmate, like Johnny said this stat on Plat Chat when we did Plat Chat today, that like Checkmate has played like 24 minutes of, has played 24 minutes of Sombra. And that's like 70% of all the league average, 70% of the league time on Sombra.
Think about how large the gulf is between the teams here, in terms of space on the map, and you can't exactly just speed boost the Zarya in.
Yeah, this is not Sparkle's match. Sparkle's it was worse than I remember it. Sparkle had a real average time in this. Hanbin Winton. Yeah, like Hanbin should just play Winston. And like Sparkle's gonna play Echo. Like, why does Sparkle go back to Echo? Maybe he's just not confident in his Tracer.
I mean, yes, but also, you know, it might be harder to see the Reaper coming. It can also be harder to give him bubbles as well, especially if he's playing like, you know, on a really.
Dude, these right clicks were so nasty.
You're not obviously gonna be there with him necessarily as a Zarya. Harder maybe to give him that support with.
Custa in his head. I can just imagine Sparkle playing Tracer on stage in this match. He's just like, oh man, I can't be a D tier Tracer. I can't have Custa say that again. I totally think, yeah, I'm totally in Sparkle's head.
Take that high ground. The Diva can get up into that position as well.
So yeah, Hanbin's gonna play the Diva, and Diva is definitely not it. Like, I think this is a prime example of why Diva is bad, right? Like, she just kind of gets stuck in this mid-range where she doesn't really do anything. Like, peeling, she doesn't, like, she peels well, but then she doesn't do anything outside of that. That was a pretty good dive, but you need to keep doing that, right?
I don't know, man. I feel like this would have been the time to run that Zarya comp. Like, all right, so you're gonna have
I don't like Zarya here as well. I think it's the same thing of like they're able to just sit on the balcony and shoot at you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Diva swap. It looks like we're still gonna stay on the Diva. So, interesting that they go here with no Genji. So no Genji here for the Dallas Fuel. I mean, trying off of that high ground. And you're gonna lose Geo right away.
Reiner gets Geo. How does that happen before the fight even starts? Count of the week, thank you for the 4-year resub, sorry. Much love, much love. I'm impressed with how effective Tracer seems despite the nerf. You know what I think happened? Pro players definitely felt the nerf. They felt it and they're like, Tracer feels like she does no damage, and they probably just stopped playing her for that reason. But Tracer is still a very good hero, right? Like, she's just so good because of how versatile she is. So even though she might not be as dominant as she used to be, like, she still just does so much. And we get the Hanbin Winston here now. Think of legends.
He's a fantastic player, but like he's not like your Winston player on this.
So Shu on his way out decides to try and nano someone, loses his nano. Okay, so good ultimates by Dallas Fuel. They pull the visor, get the aggression. Nice play. And that's the thing that Winston does well, right? You can take that space. You can play aggressively. You can force them to focus you. Gives everyone inherently more space. Trace a little useless if you're not proper. Well, what about Finale on the Toronto Defiant, who's been popping off on the Tracer as well? Like, I feel like Tracer's... Like, I don't think you need to play Tracer everywhere. I just think she's the most consistent. So you get the visor from Arns. And this is a fight in which, like, you're like, how do the Gladiators lose this? Let's go back, right? Gladiators have Blade, Visor, and Doomfist ult against only Nano Winston. I don't know where Kevster was, but he needed to pull that blade earlier, I think. But good blade. And are you guys ready for the ultimate throw? So they used all three of those ults. They still lost to the Hanbin.
Here towards the end of this fight, take it. So this Sparkle getting knocked all over the place. You still have Hanbin on the point.
And then Hanbin just pops off on the Winston. He just never dies. And that's like Gladiators should not have lost that fight. If they had just pulled the blade, popped the visor, and used the Doom ult, or like gone in with the Doom at the same time, they would have won that fight. Like, Dallas did not have the tools to deal with that. Yet for some reason, they all did different things. Reiner went to the point. Arns used the visor outside, so then Arns couldn't really help Reiner on the point. Reiner has to use the ult early, doesn't get any value. Kevster pulls the blade, but only gets the Ana. Like, it feels like everything was just like, as I said, where the Gladiators seem to stumble is that they're all just trying to win the game on their own. They're not cohesively working together as a unit. It feels like they're desperate to try and win.
Now it's looking like Dallas may be in control, because look, they're building up a little bit of a war chest of ultimates.
Now Hanbin has Primal.
You said it. Not the primary Winston player for the Dallas Fuel here, but
Hanbin gets Arns for free.
Fine, yeah.
Primal here, just in case he's at risk of dying. Clearly, no fear. Didn't even need
Shu gets Sparkle. Funny how Shu uses the beat. This beat is actually not as bad as I thought in terms of timing. But the beat is bad. So what is it? It's 3v3. So Arns and Reiner are down, but they get Chio and Sparkle. Okay, so if you're Funny Astro, you've just seen those two kills coming. If you're gonna pop this beat by Funny Astro, he has to save Shu. And I think he starts casting it before Shu gets hit by the rocket. And that's just such a big throw. Because he doesn't save Shu with it, he only hits himself. It's completely useless, and they have to disengage. So it was a gamble of a beat. Maybe if he hits it, they're good, but even if he does save Shu with it, I don't think they're going to be able to win that fight. Dallas still has positioning. Hanbin's still vibing with like full health and a primal. So a bit of a throw by Funny Astro here. And then all of a sudden, this starts snowballing out. Sparkle now has a free blade. Chio has a beat that he can just use aggressively. Yeah, they just beat Blade. This is kind of what I was talking about when the Gladiators had those three ultimates. They just needed to, like, that wasn't even a great engage from the Dallas Fuel with the beat Blade. But it was good enough for them to get space because they have such a big advantage. And then Nano Visor is like, you got Nano Visor. I would love to see what the fight win rate percentage is when Nano Visor is popped. It has to be dumb high, right? If you use Nano Visor, it's like almost a guaranteed win.
Now it's going to be Kevster on the point again, trying to keep it going, but it's not going to be enough. The Gladiators have let it go.
And the Gladiators drop that. You can see it in their face. Like, they know that was their map to win. Like, they should not have lost that map. Hey. Hey. What are you doing? She's just sitting up there. Don't bonk her. Alright, where are we going? Alright, final map. New Queen Street.
You would not want to be on the end of a reverse sweep, but still.
Yeah, you'd rather learn and still win, right?
Yeah, I mean, this it's just I hate when they say like losing is learning. It's like, well, you also learn when you win. I mean, you don't have to lose. I mean,
The Matt quote.
Wobble, wobble, motherfucker.
Cowie, thank you for the 4 months. Big fan of my fellow Australian. Hell yeah, thank you very much for the 4 months, Cowie. I appreciate it.
It may not be as punishing.
None of us were from MYXL were not good at all. There's a lot of things coming out of MYXL that aren't very good.
Of this comp really built around the Zarya with the Reaper.
I feel like that's an anomaly.
It's been really effective. The Gladiators, they'll come out. They'll play the Doomfist. Soldier 76.
All right, so we're going to see Gladiators come out with the Doomfist. And I have a question, right?
Choice for just about
I guess Reiner just likes to play the Doom against the Zarya. Okay, never mind. It doesn't make sense.
In this whole series, interestingly.
So once again, Sparkle is going to come out on the Genji, knowing what they're going to play. Like, it still is curious to me what Sparkle still wants to play Genji. Like, I feel like Tracer would be a much better pick, especially against the Doom. But here we are. As I said, this just screams to me that Sparkle does not feel... He doesn't feel like he wants to go to the Tracer. It's kind of like he always starts as Genji and then the fight... Oh, God. And then as soon as it doesn't work, he goes to the Tracer.
Successful in his first foray to enemy territory with that teleport forward, and Hanbin is going to lose.
Sparkle in free fall.
Reiner has done a really nice job.
And Sparkle's going to stay on the Genji.
Yeah, when we've seen him on the Doomfist against this type of comp.
So Edison's going to go to the Soldier? Like,
Is that whenever the Reaper TP...
if anything, I'd rather see Sparkle play the Soldier and keep Edison on the Reaper.
Away. You also have Funny Asher there with a boop, and when you keep that Reaper away...
I don't hate the Tracer Soldier, actually, against this. I think the Tracer Soldier is a good counter to the Doom Echo. And just keep Hanbin on the Zarya. I actually don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Dallas, they move off of it right away as they see this...
Think we'll see less Genji and APAC? It's hard to really know. I think they're going to play Zarya from what the rumors are, so I don't expect a lot of Genji, but hey, never say never. It'd be cool to see who are you play for the Dragons.
Apparently not with the Gladiators.
So this is something that Gladiators did a lot, and I think they do this almost more than any other team.
The sidelines, if they possibly
Is they're like, they accept when they've lost a fight and just give up the robot and just disengage. Well, I feel like a lot of people just go down with the ship. When they lose one player, they're just like, well, we have to fight. When you don't really need to, especially with how slow the bot pushes. They also did this a lot. This is like a choke point where you can get your tank in this choke and he can stop the bot from being pushed forward. And like, look, like the Dallas Fuel are getting no progress here. And this allows the Gladiators to reset, get into good position. Then all of a sudden, Kevster gets positioned. Dude, Sparkle goes down again, man. I did not realize that he got bodied this much. Who do you focus Bob with that Reaper? You just play it as a counter dive tool. Use it for yourself or whoever tries to get jumped. Fielder farming?
Hanbin not been able to get as much charge with this setup, right? Don't have that Reaper going in as like a big charge battery for the Zarya, but still gotta make it work this.
All right, so Dallas gets the lead in the map. Is Sparkle fall off? It's just one map. Like he obviously had that bad match against Houston as well. Sparkle has definitely not been as good as we know and love him to be.
Right. The Tracer just can't get in as safely, right, as the Reaper can.
What would be that happen to the bot's furthest point? Bot distance to the exact forward spawn point. Like the checkpoint. I think it's a draw. We haven't seen it yet, but it's gonna happen. There will be a draw on push where both teams only get it to the checkpoint. And while the bot is waiting to push it, like, you know how there's that big wait when they're trying to push it? If both teams get stopped there and then never get back to that point, then it will be a draw. Oh, wow. That was a good kill by Hanbin. The Echo does murder. I feel like if the Echo gets space, she just murders everything. But it's about getting to that space. Stardust, thank you for the 18 months. Just keeping the ads at bay. Also, cats. Yo, thank you very much for the 18 months. Map 7s aren't gone yet. There will be, yeah. There'll be a draw eventually.
Just knows in every situation how to do it. So the Gladiators are actually going to mirror this. They're going to have Kevster move away from Echo, go over to Tracer. Tracer's definitely good against the Echo, so you want to get away from that. If you're Kevster, and we know how good Kevster is on the Tracer.
I thought OT would just keep going. No, because then you could end up in like a forever stalemate where the teams are just going back and forth and no one ever ends up being able to push it. Because OT won't end? No. That's exactly how it works. Right? Because if no one's on the bot, right? I think I'm correct about this, right? If no one's on the bot, and they both pushed it to that checkpoint, then the game would just end. Yeah, I had a draw in one of my games. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure it would just draw. Like, because it does, the OT doesn't, like, the OT just doesn't keep going if no one's on the point. Yes, tested it myself. Yeah, I thought that's how the interaction would work. But I didn't have any proof of it. Oh, funny Astro fragging.
Gonna get some shots on the Hanbin to finish him off. So this is gonna be the Gladiators moving the.
All right, so Gladiators is going to be able to get it to the checkpoint pretty much now.
Gonna take the lead. And I was also wondering, Mitch, in this kind of variation of comps that we've seen from the Gladiators, they haven't played the Doom. They played the Winston.
The Infinite OT would be insane. As I said, the Infinite OT would be bad because it could potentially elongate the map by a really stupid amount of time.
Usage off and then go over to the Winston. So keep an eye on the next.
So Gladiators get the checkpoint, which is a big deal, right? Like, so even, like, once again, another great Gladiators recognition. They literally get to the checkpoint. Look at this. They have the advantage. They get to the checkpoint, but they know this is a disadvantageous place to be. They get to the checkpoint, and then they just bounce. They literally just run. They know that they don't get anything about trying to force that fight in that positioning, so they just disengage. And this is what Gladiators, I think, did better than anyone else, of understanding the mechanics of how push works and utilizing that to their advantage and not taking fights at a disadvantage just because that's where the bot is. Like, there's so many teams that just fight there for the sake of fighting without any real necessity to do it. Oh, Custa gets filled. Right, like, so then what happens is they force Dallas to walk into them, and then they punish them when they walk into them. Dude, Edison just jumped out the window and assassinated Arns. That was suicidal. They're not going to scrap push. Push is not going anywhere. I think that it could definitely use some tweaking and some changing, and I'm sure they're getting feedback and they're making those decisions as well. But push is definitely not going to just disappear, guys. They already have made a bunch of maps in the push mode. Push is here to stay.
Primary fire from Zarya is limited range. Okay, attack visor. Yeah, looks like it's going to be the case here from Edison. Reiner going to be taken down by Sparkle, but
So that's a nano visor by Dallas to win that fight. Like, even that, once again, Gladiators just disengage and then re-engage against these big ults. Funny Astro beat. Doesn't save Arns.
I like this though. You use a sound barrier here for the Gladiators. That's going to force it out of the Dallas fuel. You start to dwindle down some of these ultimates because you have a pretty big lead in terms of progress of your barrier. So it's going to be harder to get that back.
All right, so Dallas gets a pushing.
You're going to have to throw some more ultimates into these fights to keep this barrier going in your favor. Dallas will have a grab coming in this next one.
Denying the front spawn, Dallas are able to get back to parity in the middle of the map, but they are still behind. And remember, the bot will take quite a break at this checkpoint if Dallas.
Okay, Reiner.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be tough to get away from this. I love the meteor strike here.
Yeah, that was an interesting meteor strike on the blade. Sparkle did okay there. Obviously, it would have been nice if he got the soldier, but Sparkle created so much space, right? And he lived for such a long period of time. It was good recognition by him to understand that he needs to do, like, he needed to just stay alive. So now Dallas is pushing, right?
He lived for so long, man. Just tremendous help with the bubbles. Fielder obviously healing.
I think Blizzard should make a map creator. It'd be cool if they were able to give away the assets like a lot of other games do, but a lot of games don't like to do that these days because you're giving a lot of tools to. It makes it easier to break the game, I believe, and they can't control it.
The latter seems to be the pick. Poor bot getting a bit of whiplash.
Yeah, he's got no idea what's going on.
All right, they're pushing. So they have Nano. Nano Sparkle. Nice. That was a good hit by Fielder. Oh, God, gets to sleep under the shoe. I think he should have kept him dead. Yeah, I think he should have just kept Shoe on the floor. If he left Shoe on the floor, he probably doesn't die. But, importantly, Dallas has the lead now.
18 seconds left in the round now. Dallas able to sneak out in front there.
And this is like the negatives to the way that Gladiators were playing, is sometimes they miss out on some neutral push that would have helped them a lot, right?
To exceed Dallas's previous progress, this is it. The locus of activity now is about to go down as we're into overtime on New Queen Street. Hanbin is a grab. That could be it.
The grab. That's such a good grab. That's such a good grab. Hanbin's so talented. Oh, and then the bubble to save Edison.
It's them at the end, wearing the crown.
Woo!
Fuel, haters be silenced. Incredible comeback.
Oh, and you can see just the Gladiators. That one hits them tough. They looked great early on. No answers for what.
Big plays, big plays. All right. That's the match. That's the match. I think the LA Gladiators, this sums up the entire LA Gladiators feelings pretty well. Funny Astro, his hands on his heads. It wasn't as bad as I remember it when I watched it live of like the Gladiators throw. I think they made some ultimate mistakes here and there, but for the most part, they just needed to close it out. But the entire series was incredibly close. The only map that I think wasn't very close was Ike. Everything else, like they could have won Ilios. Dallas could have won the first two maps easily. And then the third map, obviously, that just went back to a crazy run by Dallas Fuel at the end. So, big plays for the Dallas Fuel, crazy wins. The LA Gladiators, they just need to bounce back. I believe Gladiators are playing the San Francisco Shock this upcoming weekend, so they need to focus up because Shock is looking to be one of the best teams in the West right now. And Dallas Fuel, I think they just need to do some fine tuning. You know, Edison getting caught out a little bit, you know, getting a little aggressive from time to time and getting himself isolated. Sparkle just needs to hit previous form. Like, I don't doubt that Sparkle will. And Hanbin just needs to keep being Hanbin. Once again, I haven't really noticed a lot of Chio impact in these series, but I think he's doing well. Field is popping off. Doesn't feel like he's dying or Field is dying, so he's probably doing his job. But it's hard to really see the Chio impact when we're watching it from the YouTube VOD. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this VOD review. I'm going to be doing a couple more throughout the week. Make sure to like and subscribe to the videos and to my YouTube channel. If you guys have been enjoying the content, we got a lot of season and there's a lot of games coming up, especially with APAC. We'll be reviewing a lot more games when APAC happens. So, love you all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.